all game. We are motivated. We are dedicated. Come on now. Come on now. We will win. We are the best on the field. And we hit the field light, all day light, all night light, on the blue light, offense light, defense light, his squad light, house call light, and the sound light, and the sound light, and the sound light.
Welcome to the Short Sports Show. I'm your host, Daniel Short. Today is Wednesday, November 30th, 2016. And boy, do we have a jam-packed show for you guys. A ton of things to talk about. Of course, college football coaching carousel has been going crazy. We're going to be talking about, can Tom Herman build a Texas powerhouse? Also, what does Charlie Strong's firing mean to African-American coaches? We'll also talk about Oregon. It's no longer a top coaching job. We'll get into the discussion with that. Also, should the NFL get rid of Thursday Night Football? Jeff Fisher ruining the Los Angeles Rams, and the Dallas Cowboys are going to continue to feed Zeke the Freak. All of that, plus a lot more in today's show. I'm excited for today's show, guys. Thank you so much for joining us today. Right before we get into the show, of course, I want you to talk about, if I can speak, is the goals for the show. Of course, we are so close to 1,500 subscribers on YouTube. If you guys have not already subscribed, be sure to head over to YouTube. Link is in the description down below. Or if you're already listening to YouTube, go ahead, just scroll down, click that subscribe button. Absolutely free, and you get updated to news when different videos come out. All sorts of things that we have YouTube exclusive. We're going to do, again, doing a lot more over there. So be sure to hit that subscribe button over there. Also, this week, of course, well, actually it happened, I believe, last week was the first week, depending on what bowl games they were, but I went ahead this weekend and applied for bowl game credentials. We're going to see. We're going to see. The worst thing they say is no. So I've already applied for just about everything. College football, the national championship game is already said no. But it's okay. It's okay because we're going to continue to apply because you never know. But the main bowl games, of course, that we're trying to reach, that I believe we got a good shot, is the Texas Bowl, which is in Houston, the Cotton Bowl. That'd be the biggest one. Basically, all the ones in the state of Texas except the one in El Paso. Don't think we'll be heading to that one. But the Alamo Bowl for sure. We're going to try to get there again and see what happens. So hopefully they're all nice and say, hey, this guy, he's doing a good thing. He's just trying to make it, trying to make a living. Let's go ahead and just give him a pass, He's just gonna have some fun. So, but if we are able to go to a bowl game, then definitely be on the lookout for that because that's gonna be fun. I have already tons of ideas down for the different bowl games that we could potentially go to, and have some different ideas onto what we can record, what we can do, some skits, some good stuff. So I'm excited for that. But let's go ahead and get into what we're going to be talking about today. Again, it's a jam-packed show. I'm excited. Whew, feels good. Well, actually, it's kind of cold. Texas, we finally hit winter today. It's like 51 degrees right now. So, but anyways, let's go ahead and talk about some Intergrind, and then let's get on to college football news. Today's show is sponsored by Intergrind. Based out of Houston, Texas, let former Texas State linebacker Michael Rakpo help you reach your fitness and nutrition goals. With personal training classes that start at $40 a session, why not be a part of this rising program? Now, whether your goals are to lose weight, gain muscle mass, find the right off-season program, or even for you ladies out there to get that booty blast, you can do it all with Intergrind. Not in the Houston area, not a problem. Intergrind has a program that is personalized just for you. Intergrind has everything you need to meet your personal and healthy goals. NFL linebackers like Titans Brian Orakpo, Chiefs Derek Johnson, Buccaneers running back Charles Sims, and San Diego Chargers cornerback Craig Mager, along with many other young athletes, have already begun. Find your personalized workout and nutrition plan at intergrind.com and call 832-475-2829. That's intergrind.com, 832-475-2829. Unleash your inner grind. So, first topic, we're going to jump right on into it today. Can Tom Herman build a Texas powerhouse? Maybe. Now, Tom Herman was introduced as the head coach at the University of Texas on Sunday afternoon. 45 minutes before the news conference, Herman held a meeting with this Texas team to lay out the expectations for the program. Says that he understands why this might be a difficult time for the players, as their love and support for Strong played out through these past several seasons, and the pressure being on them. Now Strong is gone after 3 seasons. He said, quote, "I think it was the thing that I let the meeting off with. A lot of you were very close to Charlie and should have been. He's a heck of a man and a heck of a football coach. I told him some of the things we'll do in the program will be similar too. But I also told him that the definition of insanity is performing the same act and expecting different results. We need to change some things," end quote. Now Herman, he's bringing in some assistants from the University of Houston. He's got his defensive line assistant head coach Oscar Gills, tight ends and fullbacks coach Corey Meekins, cornerbacks coach and special teams coordinator Jason Washington, co-defensive coordinator and safeties coach Craig Navier, head strength coach Yancey McKnight, director of football operations Fernando Lovo, and recruiting director Derek Chang are all joining Tom Herman in Austin. Tom Herman's biggest thing, not only with recruiting, because we got that dead period coming up, December 19th, I believe it is, or the end of dead period, where they can start recruiting, going out. Craziness was where a lot of coaching hiring start happening now. But his second priority, maybe his main priority, is trying to get a guy who right now is looking like a first-round NFL running back, and that's D'Onta Foreman. He plans to talk to him here pretty soon, who's led the nation in rushing with 2,028 yards this season, to gauge his interest in returning next season versus entering the NFL draft. Now, his father, D'Onta Foreman's father, tweeted out yesterday on Tuesday afternoon that his son's decision, Deontay's decision to enter the NFL draft or to stay at Texas would be either before or on Friday this week. So, depending on when this video is uploaded, depending on when you're listening, you might already know if D'Onta Foreman stays. Now, D'Onta did say his decision would be a huge factor of it was if Charlie Strong was going to be there or not. Now that Charlie's not, and they have Tom Herman, does he say, okay, well, I'll go ahead and stay because it's Tom Herman? Or does he say, you know what, I'm projected right now as a mid to late first rounder. Let's just go ahead and jump in there because he is a guy who's going to get a ton of carries. Why not just go ahead and just jump in the NFL, save your body? So that would be interesting to see what Tom Herman can do with him. Also, Herman said he has given no thought to the possibility that the 5-7 Longhorns could still be invited to a bowl game based on their APR if the Bulls are unable to fill slots with 6-6 teams. Texas president said if Texas does get an invite next Sunday, Herman will make the call whether to accept. I would not be shocked if he just says no. It would be a smart thing just to say no. To say no, let's just make sure these guys are healthy. You do, the benefit of playing in a bowl game is you get those extra practices in. And those can be very important, especially for Tom Herman to see how his team is going to look, maybe make some changes. Obviously, he's not technically going to coach them, but it'd be interesting to see. He did already say that he is not keeping any of Strong's assistants, and that includes Sterling Gilbert, the offensive coordinator, who they just hired at the beginning of the season from Tulsa. He is now going to be looking for a job. It's very strange how everything works. Now, I'll give you my opinion here. When Charlie Strong was hired, and I've said this before, if you already heard me before say this, that when I, as a TCU fan, I was afraid with Charlie Strong being the head coach at Texas. I really thought, given the necessary time, he would bring Texas back to a top 5, top 10 program year in and year out. I didn't think it'd be within the first 2 years. I didn't even think it'd be the first 3 years. I thought the 4th year, which ironically he's not going to get. So, I guess you can say I was wrong. I don't think, not about me being right or being wrong, but I don't think he was given the necessary time. And having that pressure every single year that, oh, hey, you may not be here next year. You may be fired midway through the season. Kind of put the strain on all the coaches, on all the players as well. So now that Strong's not there, Tom Herman steps in. I don't necessarily have the same feeling as I did with Charlie Strong when he was announced as the head coach. I do believe Tom Herman is going to benefit from having a much better team than Charlie Strong had when he walked in his first year. And so definitely he's going to be able to get 7-8 wins his first year. I think that is a legitimate, worst case scenario for Texas if they get 7 or 8 wins, which for them, that's a celebration because they've had nothing but 5 and 7, 6 and 6 type of years. So, I think Tom Herman is going to be on the right track. Whether he builds that program back to being a top 5, top 10 program, only time will tell. Sadly, it looks like he will get more time than Charlie Strong would, or has. But I do believe Tom Herman is going to benefit much more than Charlie Strong did. And maybe they build a Texas powerhouse. It's hard to say that because you look at when Texas was a powerhouse, which, was Mac Brown's mid-years and early years, you didn't have a TCU. You didn't have a Baylor. You really didn't have Houston. A&M was off and on, but you could still say you had them. Now there is a Baylor. There is a TCU. Well, not really Baylor anymore. There is a TCU. There is a Houston. And other schools. UTSA is building the program right now with Frank Wilson doing an amazing job. They're having to recruit a lot tougher than they were when they were just the main school in Texas. Them and A&M, that's all they had to worry about. So I don't see a top 5 program within the first 3 years of Tom Herman. Could definitely see top 15, top 10, definitely. And if that's enough to keep his job, it probably will be, given what they've had recently. But best of luck to Charlie Strong. I'm a Charlie Strong fan. I love Charlie Strong. And Tom Herman, I have nothing against him, but he's definitely going to benefit a lot more than Charlie Strong did. A lot more. And maybe it's a little bit bitterness. I don't really know. Tom Herman taking over at Texas. Yikes. But what about the other side? Houston. Who takes over at Houston? Now, from money to facilities to recruiting area to administrative support, there is no better group of 5 job out there other than Houston. Houston has it all. Just look at the recent coaches. They have Art Briles, Kevin Sumlin, and Tom Herman have all gone from UH to bigger jobs in just the past decade. The Cougars have only missed the bowl game 3 times since 2003. Everything is in place to win there. It really is. So it is still a really good job to go get for maybe a PJ Fleck if he wants to leave Western Michigan to go and get to the Texas recruiting in the University of Houston. But apparently, there are a few Power 5 head coaches that will leave their school for Houston. ESPN's Adam Rittenberg lists Dana Holgerson, the head coach at West Virginia, which I have a hard time thinking he would leave them. Lincoln Riley, the offensive coordinator at Oklahoma right now. And Lane Kiffin, the offensive coordinator at Alabama, as potential candidates. He also lists Sonny Dykes, Philip Montgomery, Neil Brown, and Les Miles as potential candidates. The Houston Chronicle lists Dan Mullen, Chad Morris, and Jim Leavitt as other possible candidates. Now, we did find out this morning that Chad Morris has agreed to stay at SMU after failing to reach a deal with Baylor. He was in negotiations with Baylor to become the head coach. He just told his team this morning, as Wednesday morning, that he was going to stay in Dallas. So maybe he's just staying and not joining Baylor. Maybe Houston comes up. Who knows? Now, donors and board of regents said they would not lose Herman the money. They basically just lost Herman because he wanted to leave. It wasn't because of money. Because they definitely could have paid the $5 or $6 million that Texas is now paying him. Now, Herman, he was already the highest paid group of 5 coach with $3 million annually, so he gets a $2 to $3 million bump, depending on what Texas' final deal comes out to be. And they were willing to pay a lot more. There's many other Power 5 jobs out there, but none of them really bring that interest that Houston does. Now, the facilities at Houston are really building up. They just broke ground on a $20 million football operations and an indoor practice facility earlier this month, and it's expected to be completed by the beginning of the 2017 season. So a coach can step in and say, look, I know you're probably concerned about how Houston's going to bounce back from losing Tom Herman, but let me tell you, we already have some talent here, and we're going to continue to bring in talent, and look at the facilities that we're getting all by next year. So the time you come in, you're going to have all of this, something that those other guys didn't even have. We're going to be fine. So there's a lot of optimism around Houston. And Houston fans, Cougar fans, should not be completely depressed over Tom Herman leaving. They really should have saw the writing on the wall that at some point, maybe it happened a lot sooner than they thought, he would end up leaving. Now, again, this is what I was talking about earlier. One reason coaching changes happen quicker than and jobs are filled quicker is because of the month-long winter dead period, which started back in 2013. Schools want to get a new head coach in place to reach out to the recruiting classes. Houston has the number 35 ranked recruiting class right now, which is the highest among the group of 5 schools. And we're currently just 2 weeks away from the dead period and 2 months from signing day. It's coming around the corner very quickly, which that gets me to just thinking we will have a signing day special show where we go live on Spreaker and talk about recruiting. So be on the lookout for that. I believe February 5th or February, something like that. It's a Wednesday. It's always a Wednesday. Houston wants to move quickly, but it's more important to get it right as a head coach. So there's a lot out there. I wouldn't really be shocked Les Miles can go and take that program. Les Miles is going to be a favorite for a lot of these jobs as he's the last big-name guy. None of these guys are big-name guys. These are guys that still have a lot to prove. Dana Holgorsen, I guess you could throw his name as a big guy. I just have a problem seeing him leave a Power 5 school in West Virginia, which, I mean, they've had some close years here of winning the Big 12, and they're really not that far off, to just leave and go to Houston. Which you're going to deal with some other issues that you wouldn't have as a Power 5 school. Lincoln Riley could definitely leave. I don't think Lane Kiffin's leaving Alabama. If he didn't want to leave for LSU as the offensive coordinator, which that might still happen, I doubt it does. I think he's really, honestly, the coach in waiting at Alabama. I don't think that's a hard thing to look at and think about. Sonny Dykes has been a popular name as well with the Baylor job. Philip Montgomery, same thing. He's part of the Bryles system of offense. Dan Mullen could leave. Again, I see a hard time leaving a Power 5 SEC school for Houston. But you never know. There's different things. Houston's definitely going to pay a little bit more. I don't think Houston's going to drop off to back being a 5 and 6 type program, 5 and 7 program. I definitely think Houston's still going to be a top 25 program for the next few years. They still have talent. They still have Ed freaking Oliver, who's going to be a top a first-round draft pick, whether it's at the end of his junior year or senior year. This guy's an absolute beast. So there's definitely still talent at Houston. There shouldn't be any panic at Houston. You're still going to make some good bowl games. National championship, it might be out of a reach right now, depending on who you get. But Houston is going to be just fine. And whatever coach comes in, going to have a little bit of a better way, an easier way to recruit now because of these facilities and some of the things they're getting now. So that's it. I don't really have necessarily a pick as in who takes over because there's so many names, so many things that still need to be decided in terms of this coaching carousel. But it is going to be fun to watch all of this take place. So what else we got? We also have, I'm telling you guys, there's a ton to talk about. And that has to be the next one is Oregon. It's no longer a top job in college football. Now, before everybody goes crazy in the comments section and the Duck fans start quacking at me, now Oregon, they just fired last night, Tuesday night, they fired Mark Helfrich, which I think we all saw coming. They just had him meet up. Mullins, the athletic director, had him meet up with him. He's part of the college football committee staff, the playoff committee staff. So he had to go through that, make the picks, and then he flew over, talked to Helfrich, and decided to fire him. Which, you know, again, it's not shocking. A 4-8 season, which is the worst since 1991. They lost to a rival Oregon State, who isn't really that good either. In the past 4 seasons, Helfrich is 37-16 as a head coach, but half of those losses came this season, and this is the first season since 2004 that Oregon is not bowl eligible. Helfrich will still be owed $11.6 million in the buyout from Oregon, so at least he does still get a little bit of money. but it's been bad. It's been bad. He took over a team that really was Chip Kelly's team, and his first season led him, of course, to the college football playoff championship, and then lost to Ohio State. But Oregon faltered this season with a 5-game losing streak, finished at the bottom of the Pac-12 North with just 2 conference wins. And this is where I'm getting to, where it's no longer a top college football coaching job. You look at the rise of Washington and Colorado. Guys, these aren't teams, these aren't schools, these aren't programs that are going to be good for just 1-2 years. They have been taking the necessary steps. These are programs that are going to be good for the next 5 to 7 years. They're all young. Washington and Colorado. USC is on their way back, and once they get that momentum going, USC starts to pick up some good recruits, and USC can get back to the top. And everybody loves Clay Helton. So, again, I bite my words on that with Clay Helton. Great job by him. And USC's on their way back now. You look at Washington State Wazoo. They're still in recruits from the Ducks. Now, Wazoo, maybe. I'm not saying they're a top program, but they're starting to still recruits. Utah's finally fitting into the Pac-12. They struggled those first few years after moving to the Mountain West. And now they're finally catching their footing, which, yes, Oregon did beat them this year on a touchdown catch at the last second, but Utah's finally in. And I really don't see Arizona State and UCLA staying down for much longer. I mean, UCLA went through some crap this year with the amount of injuries, and losing a top quarterback like Josh Rosen at the beginning of the year definitely doesn't help. So, in that, I really don't see Oregon being that attractive. Now, some of the expected candidates are including Mississippi State's Dan Mullen, North Carolina's Larry Fedora, South Florida's Willie Taggart, Boise State's Brian Harsin, West Virginia's Dana Holgerson, that might be the top one, Western Michigan's PJ Fleck, Central Florida's Scott Frost, who was the former offensive coordinator last season, and is in his first year of coaching at Central Florida. Could he return back to Oregon? And then somehow this name keeps popping up, which I'm obviously missing something here, but Florida's Jim McElwain. There's got to be some type of connection that I just missed when I was going through this and putting this together, that the reason why he's could leave the University of Florida, an SEC program, for the University of Oregon. I wouldn't. I would definitely not. Now, unless Les Miles or Chip Kelly ends up in Oregon, there's really no top coach that can lead this program. And when I say top coach, proven coaches. There are some under the radars that we discussed in the Houston segment, and also what we just talked about right now. But I don't see it. Now, a source told ESPN's Brett McMurphy that the Ducks' new coach needs to be someone to reintegrate ticket sales, someone who's just going to boost them up, sell some more. Having trouble. I think it's honestly just a bad season, because I thought they would have been selling out some games before this season. Now, in 2009, something that's pretty interesting that leads into our topic here a little bit later in the show. 2009, Oregon became the first state to adopt a law similar to the NFL's Rooney Rule that requires all public universities to interview a minority candidate for every head coaching job. Now, the only candidates that we talked about that are a minority candidate are South Florida's Willie Taggart, and he's building a program in South Florida, so he's definitely worth considering. Now, Chip Kelly, that is something that obviously is going to be talked about. It's already been talked about, and it's going to continue to be talked about until Oregon actually hires some coach. Now, of course, Chip Kelly said earlier this month, quote, "I'm not looking to go back, and that's what I've always said. So I don't know how it stayed a story," end quote. Well, I mean, you kind of build that program. So that's why it's going to continue to be talked about. I don't think Chip Kelly will go back. He seems pretty stern on staying in the NFL, which doesn't make sense to me because he's not getting it where it's just not working out, dude. It's you're not that good of a coach. You know, his only year that he won was a team that was made by Andy Reid. That was still his team. After that, Eagles have faltered, and then he's now with the 49ers. It's not any better. It's definitely not even better. So, Oregon is just you look at the other coaching jobs out there and what have already taken place, Oregon is just kind of falling down, and they might be a program where it wasn't that long ago that Oregon wasn't a much talked about program. It might have fallen back into that rut. Now, despite Baylor's impending coaching change, a 5-game losing streak, the school still intends to play in a postseason bowl. That's what Athletic Director Mack Rhodes said on Monday. Quote, "Our intent at this time is to accept a bowl bid for our student athletes who have worked so hard to earn it over the course of the season," end quote. Now, interim head coach Jim Grobe signed an 8-month contract earlier this season, which when he replaced, of course, Art Briles. Grobe reiterated Monday that he would not be a candidate for the position in 2017, and he said it's doubtful the new coach would retain any of the current assistants and part of their ties to Briles, which rightfully so, because a lot of these coaches shouldn't have stayed anyways in the first place. Now, the Bears, 6-5, they opened the season 6-0. They were ranked number 8th in the AP poll. But since, they've lost 5 consecutive games. And after a 35-34 loss to Texas on October 29th, Baylor lost 4 more by an average margin of 25 points. It's not been good. It's not been good for Baylor. But they're still going to accept a bowl bid, in which they most likely will get one. That's really tough to do. I mean, they're most likely going to end the season. I think they lose to West Virginia, so they'll end the season 6-6. And then you go into a bowl game, depending on where they end up. If you end up going 7 straight losses and you get beat bad in a bowl game, because right now they're just getting outplayed by everybody. Bad. I mean, it's not close. As you saw, 4 more games that they've lost by an average of 25 points. And they get blown out in a bowl game. How do you go and recruit? You're already having a tough time. New coaching change. You have a completely brand new staff. And then you got to explain how you can rebuild this program and explain that you were just 6-7. For people that don't know, Baylor only has 1 commitment in 2017 next year. They had 2 earlier this week and 1 decommitted. 1 recruit committed to that program. That's it. It's going to be very tough for Baylor. And I really don't care because I don't like Baylor. But it's hard to say. Why don't you just say, look, we're just going to turn down a bowl game. We're going to turn it down. And it's not quitting, but it's also like, look, we have a problem here at Baylor. We've got to fix it. Sorry, players that were here and stayed, and you put in your hard work. I know the next argument is, well, what about the seniors that did do good? Not every Baylor player was a bad person. What about those that gave it their all and just want to play their last game? They might not make it to the NFL. You're telling them no? It is a tough thing. They had the option to transfer as well. Just throwing it out there. But with all of this being said, Baylor's got to look at the bigger problem, and that's their whole program. And they've got to make a change. They've got to make a change, and it starts with the serious commitment of saying, no, we're going to turn down a bowl game, and we've got to clear house. We've got to clean this up. That's what I'm saying. But something who's a place that should be ashamed. People have been protesting all across the country, of course, because of Donald Trump being the president-elect. Well, it seems that that's not really going to change. I'm not a Trump fan, so I really don't care. I didn't vote for him. But people want to protest. If you really want to protest for something that can actually be changed and should be changed, and this is Liberty University, they should be ashamed of hiring ex-Baylor athletic director Ian McCall. Now, Liberty University announced the hiring on Monday of a new athletic director, quote, citing his impressive record of success in sports at Baylor. Man, what did we just get through talking about? What the lengthy announcement did not mention was that Ian McCall stepped down at Baylor amid an ongoing sexual assault scandal that has spawned lawsuits, convictions, and cost the jobs of Baylor's high-profile head coach Art Briles and school president Kent Starr. Now, not saying he just cost them their job. They also did some bad things too, so they lost their jobs for that reason. But Jerry Falwell Jr., Liberty's president, had this to say.
I can't stress how excited I am about Ian McCall at Liberty University. I don't think there could be a better fit between a university and an athletic director. And I just I got such high hopes and expectations for the future of Liberty athletics, and I believe that we're going to be able to go places that we've not yet been in so many ways, and we are honored to have Ian join us as our athletic director. I worked with Grant Taff, who's the former head coach at Baylor, former athletic director. I spoke with regents, that's what they call their trustees there at Baylor, who could not say enough good things about this man's character and his integrity. And just everyone we spoke with gave us the highest recommendation, and it was really an easy decision, and we are just so proud that he chose Liberty.
You know, in 13 years at Baylor, the school noted McCall's Bears won 5 national titles and more than 50 Big 12 conference championships in terms of all their sports, and formerly downtrodden football program. Quote, reached bowl game 6 consecutive years for the first time in school history, end quote. That program also, what they forgot to mention, what Jerry Falwell forgot to mention, that great, how great Ian McCall is and all the great things that he did, was that the program also included 19 players reported by 17 women for incidents of domestic violence and or sexual assault since 2011. And Baylor is facing multiple federal lawsuits over what the women say was a policy of ignoring, if not actively suppressing, their accusations. In the wake of that report, McCall was sanctioned by Baylor and placed on probation. He resigned shortly thereafter, saying in a statement, quote, after much reflection and prayer, I've decided that a change in athletics department leadership is in Baylor's best interest in order to promote unity, healing, and restoration that must occur in order to move forward. Oh, man. So that only took about a few months, and you feel like you're ready to go lead another sports program full of young men and women, and your track record says what exactly? Where's the character building? Where's the caring of young men and women, whether they were student athletes or not? That whole thing, that reputation has been, it's gone. There is none. Earlier this month, this is where it gets a little bit better. Baylor released a statement claiming that McCall and Browse were among several members of the athletic department who failed to act upon being informed in 2013 that a female student athlete had reported being gang raped by 5 football players. Baylor said that in 2015, McCall initially denied having any knowledge of the student athlete's allegations, but he subsequently acknowledged that her coach had told him in 2013. The school claimed that McCall said he thought the victim did not wish to report the rape. Let's read that again. The school claimed that McCall said he thought the victim did not wish to report the rape. She just wanted to tell him, hey, football players gang raped me. I just want to let you know. Don't tell anybody else. Who? Why? No one would do that. Now, a group of assistant coaches at Baylor, including the son of Briles, Kendall Briles, is disputing the school's version of those events. As it turns out, Liberty's football program opens up the 2017 season at no other than at Baylor. Beyond that, McCall said in the school's announcement that he aims to help Liberty put together a big-time football program. This is sickening. Why should we allow someone like McCall take over a program, a university, after all of this? It's sickening to me. That's what it is. If people want to protest, that is something worth protesting, something that actually would change a and Liberty should just be ashamed of themselves. The alumni, the faculty, everyone should push this where he is not, Ian McCall is not the athletic director, because this is all sorts of wrongs. If I'm a student athlete, I'm ashamed. I'm upset. But Liberty obviously cares more about building a football program, building a sports program, more than about building character. This is also a religious university, but I guess they just do not care about young women being sexually assaulted and being abused. So, good job, Liberty. Good job, Liberty. It's ridiculous. It really is. Alrighty, so let's what we got next. We have Heisman Watch, the conference championship week. We are just 2 weeks away from finding out the 2016 Heisman Trophy winner on December 12th. Now let's go ahead and take a final look at some of the candidates before they are, actually take the ceremony to New York. Now, a few weeks back, I talked about on the show. I made a video that Lamar Jackson should be handed the Heisman Trophy. Well, it's looking like he's not really played that well. This is just one of the, honestly, scratch everything I had written here. This is just one of the weirdest Heisman years. We really don't have a clear-cut winner. Now, you look at the stats and you say, oh, it's got to be Lamar Jackson. Look at the stats. It's clear-cut. But you actually watch film, you watch the games, you watch these players, and no one stands out as what the award stands for, as the most valuable player in college. There's just no one who really stands out. Now, it points towards that of Lamar Jackson winning the Heisman Trophy. It's just he's a favorite in everything you look at. But not winning games definitely doesn't help his chances at doing that. Losing games to Houston and Kentucky and just ugly losses. And I'm not talking in terms of getting blown out like they did at Houston. We're just talking about overall how the team's performance was and how he played have hurt his chances. But is he too far ahead where really no one can catch up? So right now, as a list of rankings, the top 5, as they give 5 players in, Lamar Jackson still is number 1. Jackson's candidacy is trending in the wrong direction at the conclusion of the season, and the thing that's going to hurt him the most, not only losing the past 2 games, but he doesn't have another game to play until the bowl game, which the Heisman Trophy winner is already announced by them by the time they play the bowl game. So he doesn't have another chance to impress the voters. That's all he's got. They got to look at the season. So he finishes with 3,390 passing yards, 30 touchdowns to 9 interceptions, 1,500 rushing yards, and 21 rushing touchdowns. Not bad at all. It beats Tim Tebow's record. The one comparison is him and Tebow, not by the way they played, other than their stats, but you look at their win-loss. They both lost 3 games. Both 9-3. And Lamar Jackson, in total amount of yards, has 1,000 more yards than Tim Tebow did when Tebow won the Heisman Trophy. So you're thinking, all right, well, it's got to be Lamar Jackson. Well, there are some other candidates out there. Let's also look at number 2 in Deshaun Watson. Now, a game against South Carolina was just what he needed to boost his Heisman hopes. 6 touchdown passes, season high, tied his career high. And Watson's greatest advantage is something that Lamar Jackson doesn't have, and that's another game right before the Heisman Trophy. He gets to take on Virginia Tech and Orlando in the ACC championship game, and all signs are pointing in the right direction for Deshaun Watson to add to that stat record, and it really put up a big performance. Virginia Tech doesn't have one of the premier defenses, and they're still pretty good, but not enough where Watson couldn't carve them up. This is his game. This is his game. Right now, Deshaun Watson, 3,626 yards, 34 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. He's also throwing the ball a lot more than Jackson has. And then 444 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. Obviously, a lot lower rushing amount than Jackson has, different offenses. But if you look at a different quarterback, Deshaun Watson is definitely the favorite. I have him, Watson, as more of a favorite than Baker Mayfield. I know Baker Mayfield has one of, if not the best completion percentage, 71.6%, something like that, which is higher than, both of these guys. So I definitely can see where Baker Mayfield throws his name in there. I just don't think he's truly done enough, more than Deshaun Watson and Lamar Jackson have. Number 3, and this is one of my personal favorites, is Dede Westbrook, a wide receiver from Oklahoma, the best wide receiver in college football right now, and one of the best players and most electrifying players in college football right now. Westbrook and the Sooners had the week off before this past week. Now they get Bedlam game for the Big 12 championship. The 6-foot senior leads the Power 5 in receiving yards per game and his 11 touchdowns, not total, but his 11 touchdowns of over 40 yards or longer, rated as the most by a single player since 1998. He's broken a tremendous amount of records at Oklahoma this season. Only 8 teams nationally, teams, not players, teams, have more receptions of 60-plus yards than Westbrook's 5. That's incredible. 8 teams nationally, a whole roster of offense, 8 whole offenses have more receptions of 60-plus yards than Westbrook's 5. That's incredible. Westbrook, 70 catches, 1,300 yards, 15 touchdowns on the season. One of the best. One of the best. He won't win it, sadly, but if a receiver's out there to win it, it's Dede Westbrook. Number 4, and this is going to be fun, because I had said no the whole time that he wouldn't get an invite, but he definitely will. D'Onta Foreman, running back from the University of Texas. Foreman eclipsed the 2,000-yard mark in the Longhorns' regular season finale. It lost to TCU. Go Frogs. He also secured his 13th consecutive 100-yard game. Foreman's consistency will likely earn him an invitation to the ceremony, which is a huge thing. But Texas' 5-7 season dims his chances of winning. And it's all about overall, as well as the player's individual, of course. But 2,028 rushing yards, 15 touchdowns, 6.3 yards per carry. D'Onta Foreman gets an invitation. Positive sign for D'Onta Foreman and the University of Texas. Last but not least, now this is where usually people are throwing in Baker Mayfield. Jabril Peppers, he doesn't deserve it, guys. If a defensive player deserves it, it's Adoree Jackson. Plain and simple. And Adoree Jackson went off against Notre Dame. That was fun. That was a fun game to watch. But number 5, I'm throwing him out because everyone seems to have forgotten about him. I know I did. That's Christian McCaffrey, running back out of Stanford. How do you forget Christian McCaffrey? Well, it's easy because Stanford kind of just fell off when they got blown out by both of the Washington schools. And then it went on a winning streak. They've done pretty well. They're 9-3, 18th in college football right now. Everyone forgot about him. I did, like I said. But if you look at his body of work this season, it's tough to leave him out. McCaffrey has recorded more than 220 all-purpose yards in each of his last 5 games. Against Rice last week, he had 271. And he enters the postseason averaging more yards per carry, 6.3, and yards per punt return, 9.6, than he did as a sophomore. Finished the year 1,600 yards, 13 touchdowns, 6.3 yards per carry, and 310 receiving yards. Of course, if a running back's going to get it, it's most likely D'Onta Foreman who gets it. Neither one of these guys will win it, but we should not ignore Christian McCaffrey's work. I know last season everyone was talking about him. I honestly believe if we should have done a revote. We're talking about revotes for president-elect. Let's talk about some college football revotes. That is definitely a revote right there. A revote? Is that right? What am I talking about here? Recalculations is a vote. Christian McCaffrey was a much better running back than Derrick Henry was. In my opinion, I truly believe Christian McCaffrey overall had a much better body of work than Derrick Henry did. I also think Deshaun Watson should have been up there. I know he was number 2, but I'm just saying. Just throwing it out there. But that is my top 5 that is who I believe will be should be given the invitations to the ceremony on December 12th when we find out who wins the 2016 Heisman. Finally, make your predictions down below in the comments section, no matter where you're listening to, especially here on YouTube. Let me know who you believe will win the 2016 Heisman Trophy. Do you believe it's Lamar Jackson? Do you think it should be Lamar Jackson? Is there a wild card? Is there someone I didn't talk about? I'm sure there's going to be some Oklahoma fans, and they're going to be throwing Baker Mayfield out there. I put Dede Westbrook in there, guys. And I think Westbrook deserves it more than Baker Mayfield. Let's debate that. Yeah, you heard me. Follow me on Twitter at Short Sports Show and become a fan on Facebook, The Short Sports Show. All right. Again, I told you guys, there's a ton to talk about. We're about 43 minutes in, and we're just talking about some college football news. We still got the NFL, which honestly, the NFL, it's not a lot. It's really, that's the quickest out of everything. But two quick things we're going to talk about, and then we're going to get into our main segment, something very important, something that I believe is worth talking about that hasn't been talked about. It's going to be interesting. Stick around, guys. Notre Dame quarterback Malik Zaire is expected to get his release from the school today during a meeting with head coach Brian Kelly. Zaire is expected to graduate in December and will be eligible immediately next season at whichever school he chooses. Now, schools that Zaire is looking at include Florida, Michigan State, Pittsburgh, and Wisconsin, according to a source. All very good schools, all schools needing a quarterback for next season. And Zaire can easily step in and do an incredible job. Now, what's interesting is you would have thought maybe Zaire were to stay and, just play his last season at Notre Dame, since all signs are indicating that Deshaun Kaiser is going to the NFL draft after this season. Maybe there's something we don't know. Maybe Kaiser is not completely sold about going to the NFL draft and wants to stay another year. Maybe he doesn't want this bad season, ruining what he had at Notre Dame. So maybe he wants to come back. And maybe that's why Zaire said, okay, well, I'm leaving. Because if Notre Dame ends up not having Zaire or Deshaun Kaiser next season, yikes. Brian Kelly probably should have left. So I don't know. And maybe they're ready for that. I don't know who the third string quarterback is, but that would be interesting to see if Zaire and Kaiser both leave. Kaiser goes to a different school and Zaire goes to a different school and Kaiser goes off to the NFL draft. How Notre Dame responds back with a new quarterback. Definitely something to watch over this offseason. The Big Ten announced Monday it's publicly reprimanded Michigan's Wolverines head coach Jim Harbaugh and fined the school $10,000. Now, Harbaugh was critical of the officiating Michigan's 30-27 double overtime defeat against the Ohio State Buckeyes. Wolverines fans were particularly upset with the spot of the ball after J.T. Barrett's 1-yard run on fourth down in double overtime. That's possibly true, but the one fire back that Michigan fans now get. Now, I don't believe J.T. Barrett got it. But also, there was a 3rd and 9 opportunity with some missed tackles on a swing pass that Michigan did not get. They obviously missed the tackles that led up to that. So maybe you make those tackles and there's a different play. You don't know. What people often forget is that a game is not decided by one play. It's not. It may look like that on TV, but it's not decided all in one play. So, given the stakes of the game, it's easy to see why Harbaugh was so upset. With the 2 losses, Michigan will have a hard time getting into the college football playoff now. But, it's tough. But it was some bad officiating, to be honest, on both sides. It really was. I wouldn't blame Harbaugh for being upset. And we all know how Harbaugh is. I mean, in a game like that, it's bound to happen. It really is. But let's go ahead. I want to make sure this is what we wrap up with college football news. Yep, this is it. And we do our predictions. All righty. I'm excited for this one. It's a good one. And I hope you guys share it, not for this just to be shared, but because this is it's definitely an important topic, a very important topic. And I want to get other people's takes on this. as to what they believe and how they feel about this. Now, what does the Charlie Strong's firing mean to African Americans coaches? Now, does it hurt their chances? Some people think that he wasn't able to succeed at a premier program. Again, my opinion, still wasn't given enough time. And people really forget to look at a couple things. One, all the boosters and alumni expected bowl win in his first 3 years. People forget how bad that program was because of Mac Brown. Mac Brown really screwed up Texas at the end. And Charlie Strong had to pick up the pieces. I'm not even a Texas fan. I'm not making excuses for Charlie Strong. He's a great coach. He was put in a position to fail from the very beginning. And I'm not a fan of people playing the race card here. This is not about playing the race card at all. I absolutely hate when that media loves to do that because it gets the reactions, it gets all that type of stuff. This is not just about that. This is a very important subject to talk about, and I want to put something together for this. So again, not playing the race card. I'm just throwing it out here. He was set to fail, not because he was black, not because he was African American, but because no one really just gave him a true chance because the expectations were a national championship in his second year. Again, people forget how bad Texas was. Now, from the time Charlie Strong was hired at Texas on January 2014, he spoke of the pressure he felt on behalf of other black coaches. Quote, "We can't fail here. There are too many people counting on us." End quote. That's what he told Sporting News in 2015. Now, Strong, who was fired early Saturday after a 3-year record of 16-21, somewhat failed, and I hate to say that he failed because I don't believe he was given everything to succeed. Now, Strong was the first black football coach at Texas, which is one of the most prestigious jobs in the country. Whether you're a Texas fan or not, you have to recognize that. Not since Tyrone Willingham lasted 3 years at Notre Dame with a 21-15 record had there been such a high-profile job with a black head coach as Strong at Texas. Now, Strong knew he was carrying a mantle for all black coaches, who opened the doors for him and those he hoped to help. Now, if Strong had won big at Texas, his success might have resulted in more interviews and more jobs for other minorities. Quote, "There are a lot of people that have paved this way for me. You think about what a lot of people had to go through, not only coaches, just a lot of African Americans, what they had to do to go through for us to be in a position that we're in," end quote. Now, that's what he told The Undefeated in a recent article. Now, in college football, 54% of players are black and 88% of coaches are white. Entering this season, only 12 of 128 FBS schools were black. Coaches were black, down from 17 in 2011, according to the Institute of Diversity in Ethics in Sport. Now, advocates who are pushing for minorities to get more interviews for head coaching jobs are closely watching what happens next with Strong in terms of does he get another job for the 2017 season. Quote, "The question isn't about him failing at Texas, it's will he get an opportunity somewhere else? He did a phenomenal job at Louisville. He did a phenomenal job at Texas in some areas because of what he had to clean up. He didn't win, but he did improve the culture," end quote. That's what Ohio State Athletic Director Gene Smith said, who believes athletic directors must recommit themselves to include minorities in the interview process. Now, black coaches and managers have won championships in the NBA for the first time in 1966, college basketball in 1984, Major League Baseball in 1992, and the NFL in 2007. But it's never happened in college football. Quote, that is interesting. If we were in the 1980s, I'd probably say Strong's firing could hurt other coaches getting jobs. But I don't think that's true today. I think there's a large number of presidents and athletic directors who are looking for the right person. If we could come up with strategies to make sure minority candidates get in front of decision makers, my belief is there would be probably more opportunities, and there would be some who would be successful, end quote. That's what Smith had to say. We'll get into him just a bit. Or that Gene Smith, that's what he continued to say. Now, current black coaches at prominent programs include James Franklin at Penn State, David Shaw, who's been one of the most consistent coaches at Stanford right now. Kevin Sumlin, who's the 7th highest paid coach in college football at Texas A&M. Some organizations have tried to hold universities accountable for hiring for diverse hiring practices. They're all disappearing. The Black Coaches Association, the BCA, ran out of funding and no longer exists. Resurrecting into Advocates for Athletic Equality, which shut down this fall. One of the last sports organizations still pushing for minority opportunities is the National Association for Coaching Equality and Development, and it's led by someone pretty familiar, Merritt Norvell, a former Michigan State athletic director whose son Jay Norvell who was the coach Texas wide receivers under Strong and called plays before getting demoted and leaving. Now, I believe Mr. Norvell goes a little too far with this statement, quote, "The lack of minority head coaches is about comfort and white privilege," end quote. I don't believe that's necessarily true. Maybe in the past, possibly, and I could agree with that. Now, today, I would even say past decade, I don't believe is comfort and white privilege. Universities are bound by federal law, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, to not discriminate when hiring. Now, however, there is something that most people don't understand that I did not even know until putting this together. Athletic departments often find a way around having a diverse pool, unlike other job openings at universities. Norvell said, quote, "ADs call the HR department when they have a hot candidate and they ask for a waiver. What that waiver does is get them around that specific title. I believe Title 7, numeral numbers, Title 7, because they can qualify it as an emergency hire and they don't need a diverse pool," end quote. Now, it's a tough deal to go through right there because there's a prime example of what just happened at Texas and at LSU. They both wanted Tom Herman immediately, right? So they were most likely able to get that waiver because there was a hot candidate and they asked for the waiver. And they were most likely, Texas was able to get that, but I don't believe they did it on the purpose of comfort and white privilege, like Mr. Norvell said earlier. Now, Jed Hughes, the vice chairman of the search firm Korn Ferry, Texas paid Korn Ferry approximately $267,000 in that search for when they hired Charlie Strong in 2014. Hughes said, quote, "When you're a first-time black head coach in an area where there's still pockets of the deep old times, there's probably a part of that fan base and part of the major donors that didn't want to accept him," end quote. And I believe that's absolutely true at the University of Texas. There's a lot of donors, a little bit old school, that didn't want Charlie Strong, not truly based on what he has done at Louisville, but him being African American. That it's hard to argue that when you look at some of the donors at the University of Texas. Immediately after Strong was hired, this is what my biggest complaint was that I didn't like. And I don't like Red McCombs. Longtime Texas booster Red McCombs described the decision as a kick in the face. McCombs had lobbied for Texas to hire former NFL coach John Gruden. He even did it again, even though John Gruden said no to every coaching job available. McCombs told ESPN 1250 San Antonio in January 2014, quote, "I don't have any doubt that Charlie is a fine coach. I think he would make a great position coach, maybe a coordinator. But I don't believe he belongs at what should be one of the 3 most powerful universities, programs in the world right now at UT Austin. I don't think it adds up," end quote. Obviously, you didn't do your homework at Louisville and on Charlie Strong. Now, Hughes says that the NCAA presidents wanted to enforce a Rooney Rule which is at the NFL for college sports. Quote, "They could get it done," end quote. It's not just college football that lacks minorities in leadership roles. A 2014-15 NCAA survey found that fewer than 10% of athletic directors are black. Minorities hold only 13% of leadership positions in athletic administrations, and only 40% of head coaching jobs in women's sports are held by women. This fall, the NCAA encouraged all Division 1, 2, and 3 programs, presidents and chancellors to sign a diversity and inclusion pledge. With Strong and Purdue's Daryl Hazel out of jobs now, college football is down to 10 black coaches at the moment. Where that number lands depends on this year's coaching carousel. So, in all, what does it mean? Strong's firing at Texas? It's tough to say. It really is tough to say. I believe Strong will get another job. Now, the thing that can kind of skew the statistic on if a African-American coach who's fired at a program gets a head coaching job the next season, is could hurt because now Charlie Strong, he gets $10, $11 million buyout if he doesn't get a coaching job. Texas has to pay him that much in the buyout if he doesn't coach this upcoming season. If he does get a coaching job, that number reduces to an amount that hasn't been announced yet, but I'm guessing it reduces probably, I wouldn't be surprised, $2, maybe $3 million. Now, of course, that means he's getting another coaching job, so maybe it makes up the difference, and he gets paid a little bit more at some point. But that stat, you got to watch it. If someone starts writing some articles and stuff like that, you've got to understand that Strong has to make a personal decision in that. I believe Strong will end up with a coaching job, same thing as Daryl Hazel, both are pretty solid coaches. I still don't believe Strong was given enough time. The expectations and the pressure on him, the other coaching staff, including the players, it was a must-win every year. I get Texas is the University of Texas, the brand name is so high, but it comes a point where you have to face reality and rebuild. And that's what he was trying to do. He did the right things. Sadly, just like how money runs a lot of things, Texas, they just cared about wins. And that was it. What was funny, and I'll end it with this, because I didn't even see his name on there. I was watching Charlie Strong's last press conference after the loss to TCU, and it was on the Longhorn Network. They had 4 guys. There was some commentator, and he had Ricky Williams, Vince Young, and there was some other dude. I don't know his name. He played at Texas. They said he was an athlete. I don't know who he was. He made no sense at all. So whoever that guy was, if y'all remember, put him in the comment section because I need to add him because he made no sense. He talked about how great Charlie Strong was, that he did the right things for the players, but you could tell he was a person where wins matter more than what you do for those individuals. That's a problem. Sadly, it seems like that's the truth in college football right now. So we'll see. All right, so let's go ahead and do our predictions. Hope y'all like that. Put that together. It's pretty nice, right? Pretty nice. Week 14 predictions, and then we'll take a break here and switch over to the NFL news. An hour college football show. It's not bad. Not bad. Number 9, Colorado at number 5, Washington. Actually, I don't even know if these numbers are right. Actually, they're not. So when I was putting the predictions together, I'm not even going to say the numbers now because I did it by 8 people. I didn't do by the College Football Pro. So that's my fault. That's my B. It's my B. Colorado versus Washington. Y'all should already know. These are all big games. It's not, these are all conference championship games. 8 p.m. Central Time on Fox. Washington is a 7.5 point favorite, and I am taking the Huskies. It's going to be a really good game. I was hoping this would be the Pac-12 championship game because I wanted to see the 2 rising programs of the Pac-12 right now, of Colorado and Washington, go at it for the championship game. This is going to be a fun game. It's going to be back and forth. Ultimately, though, Washington is more experienced. They're much more disciplined and better on the defensive side. I'm taking Washington. I'm going to go 34-21, something around that. Washington gets the win. But I think it's close in the first half. Oklahoma State taking on Oklahoma, 11:30 a.m. The Bedlam game on Fox. This is on Saturday. OU is a 12.5 point favorite. I'm taking the Sooners here. Last year, they absolutely trashed Oklahoma State on the road. I think they do the same. Dede Westbrook has a big game. Mayfield as well. Going with Oklahoma to win this game. Say 42-28. Alabama taking on number 15 Florida. Nick Saban went off. He went off. I think some reporters were asking him, did he want to even play in the SEC championship? Was he gonna sit Jalen Hurts because they were basically a lock, and even if they lost this game, they were a lock in the college football playoffs. And he went off because he was like, "That's all you guys care about is the playoffs. Y'all don't care about if we lose a game or if we win the game." Blah 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 blah. I liked it. It was fun to see. Alabama's a 24-point favorite, 3 p.m. Central Time on CBS. I think they're just gonna do what they always do. They're gonna roll Tide. Clemson against Virginia Tech, taking Clemson. Clemson's a 10-point favorite. I think they win by a little bit more. I'm going to say same thing about 42, 35, 42. No, that's not 10 points, but 42, 28, something like that. And then finally, the last game, Wisconsin taking on Penn State, 7 p.m. Central Time on Fox. Wisconsin, the 3-point favorite. I want Penn State to win this game. I truly do. It's just every time I pick against Wisconsin, every time I talk bad about Wisconsin, they win. So I'm picking Wisconsin. Picking Wisconsin to win this game. It's going to be a very low-scoring game. I'm going to go 13-6. Some ugly scoring game. Wisconsin gets the W. And what happens, we'll talk about the college football playoffs next week. We'll also talk about, here's a little tease right here. Should there be a 6-8 team college football playoff next year? We'll talk about that. So, going to take a quick break here. Check out Inner Grind, and we will switch over to the NFL. Today's show is sponsored by Inner Grind. Based out of Houston, Texas, let former Texas State linebacker Michael Rakpo help you reach your fitness and nutrition goals. With personal training classes that start at $40 a session, why not be a part of this rising program? Now, whether your goals are to lose weight, gain muscle mass, find the right off-season program, or even for you ladies out there to get that booty blast, you can do it all with Inner Grind. Not a Houston area, not a problem. Inner Grind has a program that is personalized just for you. Inner Grind has everything you need to meet your personal and healthy goals. NFL linebackers like Titans Brian Orakpo, Chiefs Derek Johnson, Buccaneers running back Charles Sims, and San Diego Chargers cornerback Craig Mager, along with many other young athletes, have already begun. Find your personalized workout and nutrition plan at innergrind.com and call 832-475-2829. That's innergrind.com, 832-475-2829. Unleash your inner grind. All right, moving on to the NFL. Browns head coach Hugh Jackson said Robert Griffin III is cleared for contact this week. It would not be surprising if he starts Week 14 against the Bengals, but Jackson said it's too early to make that decision. He has not played football in a while, Jackson said. Quote, I am sure he has to get a little rust off, but hopefully we will see where he is, and if clear for contact, which he is, then we'll move forward. End quote. Averaging less than 10 points a game over the last month, Browns, they need this. They need Robert Griffin because it's the only chance they're going to get for not going 0-16, which I'm telling you, if they have that 0-16 parade, most of y'all have a Facebook. If you don't, why? If you do, and you haven't liked the Short Sports Show on there, what are you doing? What are you doing? Go like it. The Short Sports Show on Facebook. Why wouldn't you like it? Lost my track here. On Facebook, there's an event, and there is a 0-16 parade in Cleveland if the Browns go 0-16. Obviously, if they went 1-15, why would they have it, right? No. That would be fun to go to. Oh, Browns. Let's see. I was going to do that topic. I have to because I put it on the main thing. Son of a biscuit. Let's go. Aaron Rodgers. Green Bay Packers. Are they back? Now, Aaron Rodgers completed 30 of 39 passes, 313 yards, and 2 touchdowns in the Packers' 27-13 victory over the Eagles on Monday night. Eagles falling apart here. This might have been his best performance of the season. 76.9% completion rate is a new single-game high for him, while the 8 yards per attempt is third best mark of his career, of the year. Rodgers was near flawless, threading the needle. He was what we all expect Aaron Rodgers to be. Pocket collapses, scrambles a little bit, makes something happen, throws a ball in a tight window, and finds a receiver. And he did that all night long and just did everything. Beautiful touchdown pass to Devontae Adams. Carroll was on the coverage, could do nothing about it. Just literally a millisecond away from blocking that, deflecting that ball. Lands right in Devontae Adams' arms, scores a touchdown. Also hit Adams again on a 12-yard slant pattern. It was just happening over and over. Aaron Rodgers is using his legs like crazy. Eagles' defense is kind of bad. But yeah, he was Aaron Rodgers that we all expected. And I tweeted during that game, was like, is this where the Packers go on a win streak? They go 10-6, which is pretty funny because just days ago, Rodgers was talking about turning this 4-6 team into a 10-6 ball club, and maybe he's got something. Maybe remember when he told everybody relaxed 2 years ago, and then they went on a playoff run. Maybe that's what it is. Now we all talk about Green Bay's 4-game losing streak and how bad they were. Rodgers and a lot of people started to blame Rodgers because there's some family issues, some personal issues, team chemistry issues, all these things everybody was throwing at, but they forgot to actually look at Aaron Rodgers, and it wasn't that bad during that 4-game losing streak. Threw 12 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. The bad part is, while you could do great, football is not an I game. It's a we game. It's us game. Team game. And that same team had lost the past 2 games by combined 40 points. So, yeah. But the Packers, Monday night, did everything right. 10 of 14 on third down conversions and chances. They played their first complete game of the season. They look like a complete game. The thing that still worries me is that defense. The Packers defense missed tackles after tackles. But what was also very special about that Monday night game, and what should keep some hope alive for the Eagles, is that Carson Wentz, while doing this all by himself, because that offensive line is garbage. If the Packers defensive line is getting to you play after play, then you know your offensive line is garbage. Because Packers obviously are not that good. But Carson Wentz was looking like a mini Aaron Rodgers. He really was. Scrambling, making something happen, whether he was making it happen with his feet or extending the play and finding an open receiver, which is also tough for him because nobody on the Eagles roster can catch a ball. And he was getting it done. He was making it happen. So there's some positive news for the Eagles. Might not happen this year, might happen next year. But Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, they are 5-6. Still a bad record. The good news is the NFC North is not that tough. It goes through Detroit right now, which has a history of collapsing. So it's not all set in stone that the Packers won't make the playoffs and or win the NFC North. It's still a possibility. It's still there. And maybe it's a little too early to jump on it, but I think the Packers and Aaron Rodgers are back. I think they are. The Dallas Cowboys, I think they continue to feed Ezekiel Elliott. Cowboys owner Jerry Jones said there's no plans to reduce Ezekiel Elliott's workload. Even cruising to a number 1 seed, the Dallas Cowboys are going to continue to feed the rookie over and over again. Now, perhaps maybe that changes when they lock up the number 1 seed in the NFC before Week 17, because it's going to happen. Oh, okay, sorry, I thought it was some news. But who knows? But it appears Elliott's going to continue to get the ball 20-plus times per game. He's run the ball more than anyone else in the league and is on pace for 353 carries in just his rookie year, which would be the second most for any running back since 2010. Oh, what's that? Oh, you want to know who was the first? Playing on the same team. DeMarco Murray posted the most carries in 2010 in 2014 when he ran for 300, or he's carried the ball 392 times. 392 times. Elliott on pace, 353. So it looks like Zeke the Freak is still going to continue to eat just like he did in that Cowboys commercial, which is pretty funny. And Elliott's play has been essential to the Cowboys' success. As we all know, the offensive line should be the MVP. Whole entire Cowboys offensive line. Give them the MVP. But Zeke the Freak going to continue to eat. Let's see. Indianapolis Colts quarterback Andrew Luck hasn't played since Week 11 against the Tennessee Titans. He was after he was placed on concussion protocol. It looks like his official status of Week 13 against the New York Jets it's yet to be announced. But Chuck Pagano told reporters he expects Luck to play against the Jets. And here's some positive news trending towards that. Is that CBS Sports' Jason La Canfora reported Sunday that Luck would have been able to play against the Steelers in Week 12 had the game been on Sunday instead of Thanksgiving. So there's some positive news for Colts fans. Now, another thing we're going to talk about here is should the NFL get rid of Thanksgiving? Wow. This guy. Should get rid of Thursday Night Football. Yeah, I think so. Now, with the mounting criticism of quality of every week, I keep saying Thanksgiving, of Thursday football, scattering suggestions have emerged in recent weeks that the NFL should just cut ties on it, just pull the plug, and just say, look, we're just going to play Monday Night Football and Sunday. That's it. Continue, though, with the Thanksgiving games. Forget what I was saying earlier. Now, per source of a knowledge of the situation, the league will be considering the possibility of ending or at least limiting Thursday Night Football. Now, the current contract with CBS and NBC expires runs through 2017, which means changes in the package could be made by 2018, barring a renegotiation. Now, the league realizes that every team playing once on a short week each season is just too tough. It's bad for the players, and especially now they want to continue to go out to London and all this other stuff. It's reducing the appeal of playing on Thursdays. So options include, but aren't limited to, getting rid of Thursday games completely and possibly starting the package at Thanksgiving and continuing it through the end of the season, which wouldn't be a bad thing. It's late into the season, basically would be starting now of Thursday Night Football games. That wouldn't be bad at all. With games likely to generate broad interest selected in April for November and December programming for TV networks and stuff like that. So that wouldn't be a bad thing at all for the NFL to do that and just run it with that because honestly, Thursday Night Football, this whole season, it's first we blamed the election, which has a lot to do with it, with the ratings going down. But if we look at the NFL's selection process for Monday Night Football, for Sunday Night Football, and for Thursday Night Football, for these primetime games, it was a bad year. They really thought that these teams would be good, and these teams, whether because of injury or they straight up just suck, it happened. All the bad things happen when selecting these games. I mean, look at this week's Monday Night Football game. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Indianapolis Colts against the New York Jets. I'm sorry, even if you're a fan of those teams, it's still going to be a really bad game. It's going to be boring. It's going to be probably one of the lowest rated Monday Night Football games out there. The Colts against the Jets. These teams Jets aren't going to make the playoffs. And Colts, they're going to get lucky to make the playoffs. That's our prime time. That's our Monday night capper. Colts and the Jets. It's just been a bad year for selecting these games. And they'll probably do a much better job next season, hopefully. But, that's one thing when they're going to consider removing Thursday Night Football is just understand that this year, the elections and the debates definitely hurt the ratings. But also what hurt was the lack of interest in these teams because they're so bad. So bad. I'm not even watching Monday Night Football this Monday. I'm not watching the Colts. I'm not encouraging bad football because it's exactly what we're getting on Monday. It's exactly what we're getting. Final topic of the show before we do our predictions and wrap it up. Jeff Fisher. He's ruining the LA Rams. He really is. Eric Dickerson, one of the most iconic players in Rams history, says he's done going to Rams games as long as Jeff Fisher's head coach. Dickerson's comments made during a phone interview, with the Times on Monday night came at the end of the day, which the Hall of Fame running back said on his radio show that he received a call from someone in upper management and who told him that he made players uncomfortable and was not welcome on the sideline. Now, Dickerson said later in person that it was Fisher. Dickerson said Fisher did not want the Hall of Famer around the team if he continued to publicly criticize coaches and players who were part of that team that is 4-7 and has lost 6 of the last 7 games. Here is the problem. We're going to cut to the chase here. The Rams suck. They're bad right now. They have no direction of what they're doing right now, and so Eric Dickerson, a Hall of Famer, arguably one of the best Rams players in their history, in their franchise, he can say whatever he truly wants. If he says Jeff Fisher is doing a bad job and he's criticizing his game management, his player development, and overall the direction of the team, he can say those things. He can say those things. And he shouldn't be forced to not be on the sidelines. If he wants to be on the sidelines for the games, he can definitely be on the sidelines for the games. Shouldn't be a problem. Because guess what? He's just speaking the truth. The Rams struggle right now. And again, I'm repeating, they have no player development. They lack player development. They have no general direction on where this team needs to go, where this franchise has to go. And they're struggling. And Jeff Fisher is yet to post a winning season in a very long time for the Rams. So, yes, he can criticize the coaches. Yes, he can criticize the players. Because, guess what? He's just speaking the truth of how bad this team is. So, and Jeff Fisher, apparently, he told the Times that Dickerson had every right to be critical of the team, but he could not expect favors in return. He also said that he wanted Dickerson to be around the team as much as possible. What? Where does that make sense? Can't expect favors, which are being on the sidelines, being around the team, but you can be around the team as much as possible. Something's contradicting here, just a little bit. You can read the article on the LA Times of how the interview went, what Dickerson said, what Fisher said in the phone call. But, I'll finish with this. Dickerson is among the Rams' most popular former players. He holds several NFL records, by the way, including most rushing yards by a rookie and most rushing yards in a season. It shouldn't be a problem. Jeff Fisher is just crying. I don't know. Jeff Fisher just needs to go. I was a huge fan of Jeff Fisher when he was with the Tennessee Titans. He was a great coach there. The Rams, you're struggling. And you might finish 7-9 again, which would be kind of funny. So, I don't know. Jeff Fisher just needs to go. Dickerson speaking his mind, speaking the truth, because I think we can all agree, whether you're a Rams fan or not, the Rams suck, and they're lacking several things that it's not the best timing since they're now in LA. So let's do our predictions and wrap up the show here. Much longer show, which is fine. I liked it. I thought we did great today. I think we did a great job. The Cowboys versus the Vikings, 7:25 p.m. Central Time on NBC. We are taking... It's on Thursday Night Football. That was a bad drum roll. We're taking, of course, the Cowboys. Cowboys going to win this game. Dak Prescott is going to do it all. Jerry Jones' comments, that was pretty funny. His comments of Dak Prescott being the daddy. Yeah. Yikes. Kansas City Chiefs versus the Falcons. 12 p.m. Central Time on CBS. Atlanta's a 3.5-point favorite. I'm taking the Chiefs here. I don't know why Atlanta's a favorite here. I know they just got on a win. But Chiefs have been rocking and rolling. I'm going with the Chiefs. The Bills against the Raiders. Why did I pick this game? Raiders, of course. Raiders going to win this game. They're absolute on a roll. Giants versus the Steelers. This should have been Monday Night Football. Giants, Steelers. The NFL scheduling people, they made that whole documentary earlier this offseason on how they put the schedule together and how delicate it is and how they go by all these crazy stats and all this stuff. No, just freaking look at the team and say, hey, Giants should be pretty good. Steelers should be pretty good come, December. Probably should put them on Monday Night Football instead of the Colts and Jets. I like that. Let's go ahead and put them. No, let's put the Colts and Jets. Oh, my goodness gracious. I can pick the schedule. I can put the schedule out for everybody. Let me do it. And you can pay me half of what you're paying those guys because I know they're getting paid a chunk of money to do nothing. Excuse me, anyways. Somehow the Steelers are a 6-point favorite. I don't know how. They have not obviously been watching the Giants and their record of success right now. I am taking the Giants to win this game. Finally, our last game, the Panthers, who played the Raiders pretty tough and almost had a comeback. Panthers taking on the Seahawks, who had a collapse against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 7:30 p.m. Central Time, Sunday Night Football on NBC. That's a good game. Good job, guys. Seattle 6.5-point favorite. I am taking the Seattle Seahawks to win this game. It's Seattle. I'm loving it. I think you guys will love it too. Those are my predictions. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. If you did, be sure to hit that like button, whether you're listening on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spreaker.com, Stitcher Radio, YouTube, wherever it might be. Thank you guys so much. I love you all. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just thank you for everything that you guys do. Hopefully we can get those bowl game credentials. That would be fun. It'd be awesome. It'd be awesome. We're going to have a lot of fun if we get able to do that. If not, we'll think of something else. We'll do something. I promise I'll have something special for you guys. As always, God first, God bless. I love you all. I'm out. Peace.